quite a noisy area where we are at the moment. We're in a kind of like a industrial sort of estate, so there's going to be, well, noise in the background. There's somebody out there now that's messed about with an air grinder by the sounds of it. Hopefully a lovely DJI mic is cutting that noise out, but probably not. We've got a Nissan Navara today. We are looking at no side lights, so we're going to first of all get the top-down Phoenix Smart plugged into it, do a health scan, and then kind of carry out the next sort of steps from there. But the customer, for what I can see, has got LED bulbs in it. He says the LED bulbs have been working fine for years, so it might be not related, but I don't like when people fit LED bulbs in replacement of normal H7s or whatever is in the vehicle. So I'm going to plug the top-down Phoenix Smart in first, do a health scan, and we'll take things from there. So let's get it plugged in. So we'll just turn the ignition on, turn off the radio, put a window down as I always do, and let's go into the van. We'll start a health scan. Let's see if it will auto scan this vehicle. It's a Nissan Navara, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. They can be quite awkward to auto scan, so it might not pick it up. Well, no, there we go. NP300. So we're just going to go into scan, and that should take us onto the topology menu, or maybe not. So confirmed, yes. We're going to do a smart scan, so I'm going to run through the smart scan now off camera, and I'll come back to you if we've got any fault codes. So fault code wise, we've got ECM clutch switch, BCM clutch switch, whatever this radar thing is, radar dirty. We've also got an ADCM, knock sensor faults. Now what I like to do is I like to save a report. So if the customer comes back to me and says, listen, these faults weren't on before, which it does happen, I've got a backup of when it was saved, the time that it was saved at, the mileage, so I can go back and say, listen, you know, these faults were already here. You always cover yourself, because I've lost count of how many times a customer's phoned me back up and said, oh, you know, this fault wasn't on before. Well, it actually was on before, because I've got a report and I can send that to your email. If you've got that report there, the customer really can't argue with you. So exterior lighting on these usually comes out of the IPDM from what I've had on other Nissans. So we'll just go into all signals. You can see there we've got headlight washers, high beam, low beam. Well, only some by the looks of it. Let's just go to all signals. No. So let's see what the actuation tests are. So exterior light, don't really know what that's about here. Headlight washers, we'll go into BCM. So click on BCM, actuation test. The reason I go into actuation test is because you'll get an idea of what the BCM's controlling. Sometimes on these the IPDM can control exterior lighting as well, but it seems to be that the BCM controls the side lights, tail lights, etc. In this case, likes of the Nissan Dukes, everything comes out of the IPDM and the engine bay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a quick visual before diving in too deep, then we'll take things from there. So I was right to begin with, all the exterior lighting comes out of that IPDM, I've double checked that on all data, so I'll spin these around just now. I'm going to try my best to zoom in on this because this diagram is very, very small. So you can see we've got a tail lamp relay right there, and once that's switched over, depending on the inputs, you can see it comes down and feeds these two 10 amp fuses, and then this 10 amp fuse splits off and goes this way to the rear lamps. Now we could potentially still have a switch issue, but when I turn on the side lights to basically the on position, the illumination comes on the dash, so that tells me that the stock's okay. But just in case, I'm going to make sure that that information is getting through the network to the IPDM. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. I couldn't have picked any worse of a place to record this because that right there is a big metal skip, and they're grinding, cutting bits of metal and throwing it in there with a forklift. So I'm going to try my best to, you know, not get that in the background, but here we are. Okay, so tail lamp request, as you can see there, is currently off. Now if I take use with me with the top on and I walk these around, now the ignition on this is currently on. I'm going to turn these heaters off, so if we turn that off. Side lights right now are in that position, are in the off position. So if we go on to tail lamp request on the graphing mode, you can see there we're flatlined. Now if I just turn that stock to the on position, you can see a request is matched, so we know that the request basically from the stock getting to the BCM is okay, and from the BCM going to the IPDM is okay, because we're currently communicating, or we're in the IPDM now, so that input is getting there, so theoretically it should be switching that tail lamp relay over. Now one major downside to this circuit is I'm pretty sure that the tail lamp relay in this is internal. Most of the circuits on these IPDM, the relays are internal to the actual board, so it's not a case of just being able to pick up a relay and swap it with another one, unfortunately, because nothing's ever that simple these days. It needs to all be internal, so you can't service it basically, and you need to replace it as a full unit at a very high expense. So let me have a look at the fuse assignment on the IPDM. In fact, what we'll do is we'll just lift up the IPDM to see if the relays are external or internal. If they're external, it doesn't necessarily mean that a tail lamp one's going to be external. It could be like sometimes that they've got a couple of wee external relays there for like aircon pumps and stuff like that. But let's go and have a look at the IPDM and we'll take things from there. So our IPDM is in here, and I'll probably need two hands to lift this up. So have we got any external relays? Nope. So you can see there it's all internal. So that right there is a chuck away item. So once it goes faulty, you just need to go to the dealer, buy a new one for the sake of a possible relay issue. Now of course we still need to test the circuit integrity coming out of the IPDM. So we might have the relay might be working, it might be switching over, there might be an output coming out, who knows. But one way that we can test that to see if there is an output there is just go directly to fuse 67 and 68, which both are 10 amp fuses. If we go across them, or if we go, it doesn't matter if we go across, if we go across them with a test lamp and they light up, then we know that the relay is working, it's actually sending out power. Now we don't know from the fuse out to the actual plug itself and then going through the wiring to the lamps is any good, but the chances of the relay failing are pretty high. But let's just have a wee look at the wiring diagram and I'll show you what I mean. So you can see we've got our two 10 amp fuses right there. So if we go and switch the side lights on, find those two 10 amp fuses, get our OTC test lamp. If they two fuses there have got power, then we know that our relay is okay. If they haven't got power, then our relay is knackered. Now, it doesn't mean that if we've got power at the two fuses, that this little branch coming from the fuses out to the actual plug on pin 34 and pin 33 are good. We basically just want to check that the relay is working the way it should. So let's just get the OTC test lamp, turn on the switch and see what happens from there. So for those in the comments that are constantly asking about this test lamp, I had to order it from, I think it was Elite Automotive Diagnostics. They ordered it from, don't know where they got it from, but it took weeks. It was expensive, but this little test lamp is amazing. So let's go and test this circuit out. So here we are now. You can see that our test lamp is currently lit up. Now I've got the side lights on. So what I'm going to do is just zoom you guys in and prove that the relay side, or the output going to the fuse, is good. As you can see there, it lights up. So that tells us there that obviously we knew the stop was good anyway. That tells us that the relay is good, it's switching over. Now this is just a little LED, a little 150 milliamp test light, so we could test it with a higher load, but we're not going to. We can prove that, you know, the relay is good, it's switching over to the fuse. We could then go next to the plug and check there, just to make sure there's an output coming out of the IPDM. I think that's what we'll probably do next. We actually need to check the fuse as well. That's what we'll do, is we'll check the fuse, but the chances of two fuses being blown, very, very slim. So it looks like right now that we've got two blown fuses. That's very, very strange. Probably what my next steps are going to be is, rather than put two fuses in it, I'm likely going to be testing for a short to ground. Now what's weird is, for both of the circuits, obviously with them being separate, left hand and right hand, those are obviously separate. For both fuses to be blown is very, very strange, unless someone has ran a stringer, which has happened before. I've came across that on another vehicle. Someone ran a stringer from one tail lamp to the other, or the other headlamp to the other, and obviously it can be confusing if you don't get the story of that happening, or the knowledge of what's been done. Sometimes the customer doesn't even know that, and people will go in and just run a stringer and say that's it fixed. So very, very strange. I'm likely going to be looking for a short to ground, let's just put it that way. One thing I can do, which again might fix this, if it's a very intermittent short as well, it could be that. So I could put two fuses in this at the moment and everything will be alright. But how can we go about this? What we're going to do is just put our test lamp across the fuse and see what one's shorting out. If we have got a short, it might be very intermittent like I said, but let's just do that instead of, you know, taking too much time disconnecting loads of lamps and whatever. Let's continue. So let me show you, there's the two 10 amp fuses that are blowing right there. So they're definitely blowing. I don't know if they're that small, you'll probably not be able to see that well, but it doesn't matter, they're blowing anyway. So the setup that we've got is we've got our bulb here, and you can see it's lit up nice and bright, so we know that they're basically got a short to ground there. You can see it's lit up nice and bright, and that is going in using the AES wave test kit, going into the fuse box here, or the IPDM. Now I'll show you what I've done at the rear. and why checking the rear is actually very important. Now, if you come over here, you can see we've got a tail light bulb, or stop tail bulb there. Now, look at this. Someone has ran a stringer from this tail lamp going to this tail lamp. Now, if I remove, or if I try and remove, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it with one hand here, but I'll try it. Look at that, magical fingers. We'll put them over there. Do the same with the other side. You can see there. Set that up there. Now those bulbs do look okay, by the way. You can see we've still got a super bright bulb. So that is not a short. Our short isn't at the rear. It could be at the number plate lamps, but the number plate lamps are absolutely rotten, and as soon as I remove them, they're basically going to break. So I don't want to break the customer's number plate lamps. So I'm just going to attempt to look at the front side lights. Now you can see down there we've got a lovely little cheapy LED bulb. Now, have I got access into this? So I'm going to try my best to twist this one out. There we are. So that is that one out. You can see, shot to ground, still present. Now we've got one in here also. So if I take this one out, so you can see that right there. Now if I remove that, there's a bulb. There's a bulb there. If I remove that, the shot to ground is away. So this LED bulb has caused every single light to go out in this. Now normally, if this LED bulb was to blow, it would have just done, or it would have just cut off the right hand side because one of the fuses would have blown. But because the customers had a stringer from one tail lamp to the other, when that is shorted out, it's also shorted out the other fuse. So that is why we had two blown fuses rather than just the one. Now this bulb, well, I don't even know why it smells. It doesn't smell funky or anything like that. It's not as if it's a PCB. But this bulb is causing a shot to ground, which is affecting all of the circuit, and that's why the fuse is blown. Now if I was to put in all these bulbs back in their spots, basically put two new fuses in there, then theoretically we should have all side lights working on every corner apart from the offside front. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to button up everything, put everything back together, put two new 10 amp fuses in, and then we'll see what happens from there. Now I'm just using the H7, it's a H4, but I've not got a H7 bulb, so I've had to bend the other prong, but I'm just using the H4 now as a fuse, more or less. So you can see that our side lights are working now. Don't know if you can see it there. So our side lights are working. Number plate lampies are working as well. Obviously this side's working because someone's ran a stringer. Now we've got the shorted bulb, or the bulb that's causing basically the circuit to be pulled down to ground. So what I'm going to do is show you guys what happens when I put that bulb in. Now I'm just going to do this once to prevent any damage or anything, but I'm going to try one-handed, and if I just sit it in the socket, you can see our shot comes back, off again. So Basically these little cheapy, crappy LED bulbs, that one's shorted out and caused great grief. So let's get 2 new fuses put in there, the IPDM back in its spot. Advise a customer that we'll need to put 2 normal capless bulbs in there. So we started off here, let me see time wise, I don't know what time this video started at. Let's just look at the original report to see how quick we managed to find this short to ground. So I'm going to go into history. So diagnostic report. So you can see there that we started off recording around about 9:55. Bearing in mind this time is wrong, so we've been here just say an hour, 5 minutes to get parked up and set up. So we've managed to find this customer short to ground within the hour initial assessment, so saved the customer a fortune really, chasing our tail. You know, you could be disconnecting lamps and all this sort of stuff and still not get anywhere. If you know how to test the circuit, most importantly, and you know how the circuit actually works, then like I said, it's going to be a very, very easy job for you. Let's get all the tail lamps and everything buttoned back together, get 2 new bulbs in this and advise a customer that his vehicle is ready. Let's turn the ignition on, turn the side lights on and do a little walk around. So you can see there, side lights working, side lights working there. Our number plate lamps are working, by the way. And if we go to the front, you can see capless on that side's good, capless on that side's good. So this is this Nissan Navara fixed, and the main reason he had no side lights was all because of this little 20 pence LED bulb. So that is that. Short to ground found. I'd probably say I'd give it an hour and 10 minutes because I had to obviously wait on a customer, parting this vehicle up, and you know, I got the scan tool and all that connected up. So just say an hour and 10 minutes all in to actually find this short to ground. So I'm not going to do another one after this, guys. This is the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, click that like, share and subscribe button. I will leave the Top Gun Phoenix Smart link in the description for diagnostic connections. There will also be a discount code where you can save a couple of £100 on the purchase of that. If anyone's interested in the wiring diagram software that I use, I always get asked that in the comments. I use either HGS data or all data. What do I prefer the most? I prefer HGS data. Sometimes you use all data most of the day, and then other days you'll use HGS. So, you know, you kind of need the both of them. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.